Use your spiritual GPS. Learn how to use your spiritual GPS in this episode of 5 Minutes Closer. I'm Vaughn Weatherford, and this is 5 Minutes Closer. For the next 5 minutes, let's explore some biblical truths and apply them to your life. No podcast, including this one, can transform your life or give you what you really need. Only Jesus can do that. You can find out why in what I've called the first five episodes of 5 Minutes Closer. Each following episode explores scriptural truths that, if you follow them, will bring you 5 minutes closer to the person God created you to be. Let's see if we can get you 5 minutes closer. After attending a basketball game in downtown Kansas City, I consulted my GPS to figure out how to get back to the highway. I was out of luck. The buildings in the downtown area blocked the satellite signal, preventing my GPS from informing me where I needed to go. I had to resort to my own devices, rolling down the window and yelling, "Hey, how do you get to I-35? We often forget that as believers, we have a spiritual GPS that never loses signal. We just have to remember to use it. Here's how Paul describes it in Galatians chapter 5, verses 24 and 25. And those who belong to Christ have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. If we live by the Spirit, let us also keep in step with the Spirit. We need to learn how to keep in step with the Spirit. After describing the fruits of the Spirit in verses 22 and 23, in verse 24 and 25, Paul explains how we can display those fruits in our lives. We do so by keeping in step with the Spirit. What does Paul mean? I can remember walking across a field with my grandfather. My mother had warned me about getting my shoes muddy. I was having difficulty achieving that goal. Every step I took, I sank in 2 or 3 inches of mud. My grandfather, however, was getting along just fine. He had heard what my mother said, too. We stopped and cleaned up my shoes, and he told me what to do. Walk in his steps. He knew where the rocks were in the field and how to avoid the mud puddles. All I had to do was follow behind him and put my feet where his feet had been. By walking in his steps, I got all the way across the field mud-free. That should be our goal in walking in the Spirit, to walk in his steps. The footprints are easy to see. First, look at the steps of Jesus. We can see in the life of Christ exactly how we are to live and respond in our life. Second, look to the Scripture. God has given us His Word so that we can know what the very best life we could have looks like. The Spirit's leadership will never contradict what God has already told us in the Bible. Third, pray. You will never be more ready to walk in the Spirit than when you get on your knees. We can live the life God has called us to live, strengthened in His power, because we have the leadership of His Spirit. Too often, we ignore that leadership. Paul describes 3 symptoms that indicate we have ignored God's leadership in our life. He describes them in verse 26. Let us not become conceited, provoking one another, envying one another. These 3 symptoms describe what happens when we fail to walk in the Spirit. First, conceit reveals we have placed our wisdom above God's wisdom. Provoking others reveals a spirit of defiance. Envy reveals that we don't trust God's provision. All 3 of the symptoms are clear signs that we are no longer in the steps of the Spirit. When you got mud all over your spiritual shoes, you know you took a wrong turn. I remember walking across another field with my grandfather. I wasn't worried. Hadn't rained in weeks. There wasn't a mud puddle in sight. I didn't think my grandfather was going fast enough, so I ran ahead on my own, free and clear of the grandfatherly restraints that were holding me back on this beautiful day. I didn't get my shoes muddy. I did, however, learn why people who raise cattle always look down when they walk. When we got back to the truck to clean off my shoes, not only dirty, but now extremely aromatic, my grandfather started to speak, but I beat him to it. I know, follow in your steps and I'll be fine. He let me clean my own shoes so I'd remember the next time. When tempted to get out of step with the Spirit, remember, steps outside of the Spirit's leadership never lead where you want to go. Keep in step with the Spirit, because now you're 5 minutes closer. My prayer is that these 5 minutes have challenged you, inspired you, and caused you to consider applying God's message for your life from His Word. To find out more, visit our website at 5minutescloser.com. Join me next time to see if we can get you 5 minutes closer.